Hello, friends. Chris Corsi here, president of Thrive Today, and I want to welcome you to the Relational Skills in Real Life podcast. Friends, I'm glad you're here. Today is the first of three podcast episodes on relational skills in marriage. That's right, we're doing a special series here on relational skills in marriage. And today I want to focus on, can I heal my marriage with relational skills? That's right. Few places cause pain as when we lose some joy in our marriages. And we're going to talk a little bit about how God designed the brain to work and why it can be really hard and painful when we encounter turbulence in our marriages. And I want to give a shout out to singles, even if you're not married. You will still enjoy this because we're going to be talking about relationships. We're going to talk about relational skills. So, the million dollar question I often hear from people is, why is marriage so hard? And to understand this question, we really have to look at three things. We have to look at three ingredients: attachments, capacity, and return to joy skills. So first, let's talk about attachments and bonding. So attachment patterns really refer to these patterns that our brain's bonding center has learned often early in life, where we discover whether our needs are going to be met in a timely, predictable manner. And so the bonding center is closely connected with the brain survival circuit. So when needs aren't met in a predictable, timely manner, our survival circuit has a strong opinion about that and causes a lot of pain. And so we developed this template early in life. I mean, by 2 to 3 months of life, babies already have a bonding template. Attachment patterns are already in place. And how do people respond to my needs? And what happens is your bonding center is going to connect deeply with people who are personal, who are familiar, who look, you recognize by looking at them, by smelling them, by listening to their voice. The brain's bonding center really does a lot of jobs in helping us to bond with people. And when we bond with someone, there's no undo button, there's no backspace. So the bonding center is really a powerful part of the brain because God designed us for connection. He designed us for life. He designed us for permanence in our relationships. He didn't design us for death or for loss. So when we encounter death or loss, whether it's permanent loss or temporary loss, it creates deep and profound pain. So bonds are meant to bring out the best in us. But you know what? As we know in our marriages, sometimes bonds bring out the worst in us. And one of the reasons why this happens in our marriages, because when we develop a bond with someone, that's going to create conditions where your brain is going to bring up other pain from your life when it comes to your bonds. So when you have a safe bond or a strong bond with someone, inevitably over time, your brain says, hey, this feels really good. I feel safe here. Let's look at some of this pain that's been on the back burner. And so what people find, usually the first year of marriage is all about joy and lots of joy, but over time, all this pain starts getting triggered and activated, and people don't know what to do with it. And they say, we used to be so happy, and now it just feels like our marriage is struggling and everything just feels so hard. And you know what? I can remember joking with Jen before we were married. I said, honey, do you really want to get married to me? Because you realize once we get married, all of our pain is going to start coming out. All of our junk is going to start coming out, and we're going to get triggered. And now it was a joke, it was a running joke, but it's true. As you develop a strong bond over time, it will bring up pain, especially when we've had some attachment pain and some loss in our history, or we had some insecure attachment patterns where things just did not go as well as they could have. So strong bonds often provide nutrients for good things to grow, but it also exposes what's missing in the soil of our marriage gardens. So, strong bonds will reveal weaknesses in our attachments, in our attachment history. So yeah, that's the first ingredient. Capacity is the second ingredient, which is how much weight can I carry right now? And when we run out of capacity, we run out of strength and bandwidth to carry weight, and that's going to put our brain into enemy mode. So many partners are stuck in enemy mode with their spouse, and they see their spouse as the problem. So getting unstuck where good things can grow requires we get out of enemy mode and we start growing capacity by the what we like to call the foundational five relational skills. So this leads us to return to joy skills, which is how I learn to feel my feelings, share my feelings, and calm and quiet my feelings. This is returning to joy. So here's where I learned to get back to joy and peace from my anger or my hopeless despair or my shame. So when we have return to joy skills, disagreements and arguments should lead to shalom and peace and glad to be together joy again. But when we lack recovery skills, we end up stuck or sidelined because we can't feel, share, and quiet our emotions. So when you can't share emotions, people will feel alone. And this is takes us back to attachment pain. So healing's going to go better when we have capacity and when we have relational skills like return to joy and we have secure attachments. And one of the things Jen and I did in our marriage is we protected a little bit of time each day to connect, to hold hands, to look each other in the eye and build some joy and tell some stories and be able to quiet together. So we remain purposeful to connect, to bond. Uh, in our marriage, especially the stage of life, normally we have a lot of problems we need to solve and we have a lot of decisions we need to make. But you know what? That's not going to grow capacity. What's going to grow capacity is we also spend time together, caring for each other, verbalizing our care, being able to quiet and rest together, being able to build some joy together. So every now and then in our marriages, we also need a third face who can speak life to us when we get stuck. So Jen and I have had, people in our lives who've been a third face to help us get unstuck when we've needed a third face to kind of neutralize the bond. And you know what? What else has also helped our marriage is working on maturity. Anything we do to work on maturity is going to be really helpful because what happens is adult maturity focuses on making me and you happy. Child maturity is just me getting what I want no matter what. And infant maturity is I expect you to meet all my needs and just to know what I need. So we want our marriages to be an adult maturity where we can find mutual satisfaction and we can build some joy together. So, friends, with these ingredients, marriage is the opportunity to discover God's healing and God's comfort and God's delight. Marriage is meant to be a profoundly healing and redemptive experience in our lives where the two come together as one. And you know what? When we work on those hurts and grow capacity and correct our attachment patterns, and return to joy, we learn to stay connected no matter what's going on in or around us. Now, I want to invite you to visit thrivetoday.org to learn more about these relational skills. We have a conflict course as well, where you can learn the skills that are really helpful to resolve conflicts. And my friend Marcus Warner and I wrote the Four Habits of Joy-Filled Marriages book. Lots of really good exercises in there to grow capacity. So, friends, and if you're really serious, join us at one of our in-person Thrive trainings. I want to encourage you, there's two more episodes coming. Keep an ear out for these next episodes. And may this be the start of something good for you today.